Welcome to Our Aftermarket. My name's Glen Shepherd. I'm director at Glen Associates Limited. I'm going to be interviewing some of the aftermarket's top brass with a focus really on looking at the careers that are available within the supply chain. Over the next few episodes, we'll be talking to Neil Grant, Steve Jarnett, and also Nigel Duffield, all of whom have progressed within the industry to senior roles. So it's going to be interesting to see their specific stories and how they've progressed their own careers with a view that we're promoting aftermarket careers and opportunities that exist now, and also the opportunities that will be available in the future too. Welcome to the second part of Our Aftermarket, and today I'm delighted to be at Hella with the Managing Director of Forvia Hella, Neil Grant. Welcome, Neil.
Thanks, Glenn. Cheers.
So it's been well reported over the last few months, and that's the aftermarket really is a shortage of technicians and garage type staff. However, we really want to focus on our aftermarket and the opportunities that are available. So today I'd like to cover with Neil about that subject and obviously where we're headed in the future. So Neil, could you just explain a little bit about Hella and your aftermarket and the way that you see the aftermarket from your perspective?
Yeah, sure. So, I think Hella is a well-established brand in the aftermarket, been around 125 years, been active in the UK for 65 years. I think the evolution of what is happening in automotive is huge, particularly in the last few years. Hella obviously predominantly been a lighting organisation, and that's how many people still know Hella. The Forvia part came out of a takeover by Faurecia a few years ago, and we have seen our product range diversify quite a lot from lighting, electronics, where we have had some competencies for many decades, diagnostics, ADAS, soon to be braking, which we've had in Europe for a long time, thermal management, which will be coming back, which we were very strong in. So yeah, Hella as a business is well positioned and has been for many, many years, both in the past and with future technologies that are coming as well in the industry.
And just tell us a little bit about the supply chain, because I think it's important, for potential candidates that want to join our business, that they understand it's not all about technicians, it's not all about mechanics.
Yeah.
What sort of disciplines do you foresee, sort of right now, and where you perhaps might see it in the future?
Yeah, I mean, the aftermarket is a huge area. Automotive in general, there are so many careers, but I think people look at the aftermarket as being quite a small area, but there is so much to it. So from our point of view, if I think about what we look after, from a local sales company of Hella, which is obviously a big worldwide organisation, we have product managers, we have planning and purchasing, we have customer service teams, we have sales teams, we have a warehouse, we have diagnostic sales, we have a new or relatively new area with remote diagnostics. Mm-hmm. We have a whole range, HR of course, finance. Yeah. There are so many divisions to our business that I think when we look at shortage of people coming into the industry, yeah, I think that what we find or what we've seen when we've been working with younger people and organisations that are really looking at skills gaps, for me, we showcase a small snippet of the aftermarket to people. And if they decide they don't like that or that's not for them, they leave the industry. I think that the thing that we are really missing is to showcase our aftermarket in a better way, to be able to demonstrate the breadth of opportunities that there are, which are huge. So I think if somebody looks at an area and decides that's not for them, they shouldn't turn their back on the aftermarket. They should look at what opportunities there are for them.
Absolutely. Well, before we sort of talk about, how we can maybe do that, collectively and together as an industry, it'd be good to get a little bit more information on yourself. I mean, a lot of the people, myself included, kind of fall into the aftermarket. So can you just sort of tell us a little bit about your entry into the aftermarket and how you've elevated into the role of managing director right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one from my point of view because, I am probably one of few in my position that doesn't have a huge passion for vehicles and didn't really, kind of always be thinking I want to work in the automotive sector. Yeah. I am from a finance background, so my early career was with local accountancy and audit firms. Yeah. I took a job with a who was a client of mine at the time in the food industry, and decided that actually I quite liked that side of things rather than being kind of in-house with accountants and auditors. So I realised that industry was more where I wanted to be. I am from the local Banbury area. Hella has been a name that has been in and around that for, you know, the last 4 or 5 decades. So I've grown up knowing the name Hella. You know, we used to have a huge manufacturing site which employed 600-700 people in the area.
Yeah.
And so when I saw the job as finance director came up for Hella, I jumped at the opportunity, and fortunately I was successful in getting that role. I've been with Hella 10 years this year.
Yeah.
It was, as I've just said, my first role in the aftermarket. And when I joined, people kind of said to me, you know, once you get into the aftermarket, it's difficult to leave. And you can really see that because there's a really, you know, there's a real sense of belonging, a real family feel to the aftermarket, which is great. And so, yeah, I started finance as finance director, became managing director in 2020, but never, you know, it wasn't a career path that I was thinking, I want to get into automotive and I want to get into the aftermarket. But I'm really pleased that I did, because it's a great place to be.
You made the transition from the food industry, you know, in the accountancy field, into the automotive space. Just tell us a little bit how you found the transition from one industry to the other, or into our sector.
Yeah, it was a big change. I mean, the organisations in themselves were completely different. So the company I was working for in the food industry was relatively small in terms of its structure. It was a kind of family-owned entity. So coming into Hella was quite a big change in terms of the kind of the global business that I was entering. But in terms of industries themselves, I mean, we were dealing in the food industry with some of the supermarkets. And again, people make comparisons really in the aftermarket at times to say, you know, it's going that way with fewer players but bigger ones. But what I found very different is that the food industry, certainly the area of it that I was working in, was very much transactional based, I would say. I think what you get with the aftermarket is that it is about relationships. And, you know, obviously when I joined Hella, it was for 5 years as the finance director. And so again, you know, I was a little bit in the background of some of that, but in a sense that was good, because it really allowed me to understand the Hella business, understand what we were doing and how we were doing it, and the systems and the processes. And then becoming managing director in 2020 then gave me the opportunity to understand the wider picture a bit more. And I think I really then learned the importance of relationships and the fact that, you know, it's a bit of a corny quote to say people buy from people, but I think that it's very, very true in this sector, that what you get is that if you have a product that's positioned right, and you can go out there and talk to people, and you can understand their needs and wants, and you have something that suits, then you can be very successful. And I think that is, you know, certainly one thing that I have really kind of learned as being different between two industries is that actually, you know, it's not just about having a product and having the right price. It's about being able to understand the needs of the customer. And I think that is vital in the aftermarket.
And I think, you know, sort of with what you've just hit on there, you know, with regards to a channel, for example. I mean, there are lots of markets out there that reflect the aftermarket sector, you know, with your retailers, national accounts, online trading platforms, etc., end users. And I think it's good if you can find people that, you know, sort of understand and appreciate that. So, like, for example, the building industry, you know, where at the end of the day, it's a trade supplier. So I would imagine that, you know, the skills are very similar.
Yeah, I would say so. And again, you know, I break our business down into very simple terms, and there are a lot of people that don't like me doing it, because there is a lot of technology and things that goes in the box. But essentially, we are selling boxes. You know, it's about understanding what somebody wants, and do you have the right thing in the box at the right price to be able to do that. And I think that is where, you know, certainly there is a lot of transferable skills within what we do in the aftermarket with other industries. You know, do we understand how we can interact with a customer? Do we understand how we can get a product positioned right in the market at the right price point, have the right availability levels and all those things? So absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of what we do that will be exactly the same in other industries.
And what do you feel, from Hella point of view and sort of from the industry, how do you feel that you've developed your own skill set within our sector? And have you had the opportunity to really sort of train and develop and grow and nurture? Obviously, you've climbed the ladder, which is great, but it'd be just interesting to hear, for people to be able to hear, what sort of support you've been given to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is, moving from finance director to managing director means that you get to unlock yourself from your desk and get out and meet people. I think finance, particularly in the past, has always had this thing of, you sit and do the things in the background without really showing your face. So that's been great. And I have to say, I've been really pleased in getting out and meeting people, having conversations about what we do, about our products, about the industry in general. And I think that's been fantastic. And that would be the biggest thing for me, that I would say, what have I learned a lot about moving into the managing director's role is really just about what the industry has to offer, what is out there, who is doing what and how. And that is a thing that I will always be really, really kind of, proud of, that actually we've managed to be very successful in the last few years by talking to people and understanding more about the industry. And I think that is a major thing, particularly as the industry is evolving at quite a pace. And
do you see opportunities for more mature candidates that are further on in their career to use transferable skills to come in and make an impact in Hella or an aftermarket business, for example?
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think as the industry changes, I think that there are more and more transferable skills that can come into that. We talk about, for example, remote diagnostics, something that we do. They need to have our technicians in that area need to have a passion for cars. Yeah. But they are working behind a computer. Yeah. So there are transferable skills there from other industries. And, there is a lot more conversations around data. There is a lot more IT-based roles that we need. Yeah. I think cars of 10, 15 years ago, need specialism in terms of how you fix them. Now we're all driving around in computers on wheels, effectively. So there are a lot of skills there that can be utilised. And I think, we always kind of encourage when we're recruiting to look at, what's the person got rather than what experience of the aftermarket have they got? Because I think that there are certain roles where you can get that balance right. There are certain roles, of course, where you want aftermarket experience, but I think that there is a lot of opportunity for people outside of the industry to bring their skills into the aftermarket for sure.
And what about the allied sectors, for example, the construction industry and machinery and agricultural? Do you see an opportunity to attract those type of candidates, into our sector?
Yeah, I do. Again, I think it depends on the roles. I think that's the important bit. But yeah, for sure, there are absolutely transferable skills in all of it. I think it really is about understanding, what we have to offer from an aftermarket point of view. I think that is something that we need to do from within to ensure that people are aware of what's out there. And then, absolutely, there is no reason why we shouldn't be looking at, skill sets that are in other industries and what they can then offer into the aftermarket. And there is no doubt roles that will be able to be fulfilled from, other sectors where the skill sets match what we have.
Career paths are important, of course, and so are training. What sort of things are Hella doing now to support their employees and bring them on as both professionally and individually?
Yeah, so there's a huge amount going on. I think one of the big advantages from our point of view as an aftermarket business of the takeover by Forvia is they have some fantastic internal training programs that our employees can take advantage of. So we have something called the Forvia Learning Lab, which allows individuals to go onto a portal and find a huge suite of different training that they can do. So that's definitely one advantage from that point of view. We are always looking at what skill sets people have and where that then opens up opportunities with their career. I like the fact that we have people within our own business. So from a UK point of view, we're relatively small in 50 employees, but we have people that transfer between departments because those skill sets are relatively transferable. We are also looking, of course, at the wider group that we have in terms of Hella, but also Forvia, what paths are available to people to move up into the wider group as well. So there is a lot of things that we do there, and I think the important bit for me is, as leaders of our business, that we're communicating with our people, we're understanding what they're looking for and where they see their future going, so that we can position them in the right place and we can have those conversations with them, which I think is vital.
Our sector should be a career of choice.
Yeah.
What things could we do, or how do you see that, in terms of what we could be doing to attract more people to our sector?
Yeah, I think that's a massive question, Glenn, to be honest. There's so much that I think we can be doing. I think that, the first thing that we need to do is really change the image of the automotive industry in general, not just the aftermarket, but, I think that there is still this viewpoint that actually automotive is either something you fall into, like you say, because maybe other avenues aren't open to you, or that actually it's something that, it is maybe you need to be hands-on and get your hands dirty, and if that's not for you, then it's not the sector. I think we need to make sure that we promote the industry in the right way, which of course there is some get your hands dirty, and some people of course want to do that side of it, which is great, but there are so many other roles within it, and I think that's the bit where we need to help support and promote that. I think the other thing that we need to do more of is to tell stories about the good people we have within our businesses. So we ran a campaign last year here at Hella called We Are Real, which again was really to try and promote the people within our business, what they do, who they are, to try and show that to not just the wider industry, but again, outside of the industry, so that people can read stories about a real life marketing manager, or can read real life stories about a product manager, and can see what is available. And I think that's the other thing. I think sometimes, we have these people who are known to their counterparts with their customers, their suppliers, but to the wider industry, if we were to say what job roles are available within the aftermarket, I'm not sure how many people know the full range. So I think that there is a lot of promotional stuff that can be done. I think we can promote our own success stories from within our own business. I think we need to probably come together as an industry to do a bit more. And I think that we need to promote the different roles within the sector to outside industries to make the aftermarket and automotive a more attractive place for them to be. So
brings me on to this year, Automechanica. You guys are exhibiting.
We are.
Great place to sort of tell people about what we do, and what a great place this is to be, and great space to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always great, a great event, Automechanica, and, certainly one that, we really look forward to, and a lot of planning goes into. We obviously can showcase the products that we offer, which is good, but I think also what we can help to demonstrate is, who we are as an organisation. We have a number of staff from different sectors that will be there. So we will have, marketing, sales, product management, customer service as well. And again, it's a good opportunity for people to be able to talk to the industry about who we are and what we do. And again, we are keen to promote as much as possible about the kind of diverse range of things that we have to offer, which is again a really big plus from us as a business.
Well, hopefully with the 3 interviews that we're conducting, it's going to give people an insight into a real journey. So thanks for sharing that with us.
And I think it's great, Glenn, that you're raising these topics, because I think it is key for us to have the best future of the aftermarket that we can have, is to make sure that we are attracting the right people into the industry, and then obviously keeping them there as well.